Hi and welcome to the section 2 of diving into JSF API video course named JSF Handlers. In this section, we are going to take a look to the headlines of JSF Handlers. As their name suggests, these JSF artifacts are dedicated to handle different kind of tasks, such as dealing with tags, components, views, resources, validators and converters, navigations, flows and exceptions. Now we move on to the first video of this section and we will discuss about the tag handlers. So let's see the agenda. First, we will answer to the main questions about tag handlers, such as what is a tag handler and what is the main goal of a tag handler. Further, we will discuss about custom tag handlers and we will write several examples meant to get you familiar with the technique of writing such artifacts. When a JSF developer writes his first classical tag handler, we can say that he has reached a decent level of JSF knowledge. It is a well-known fact that tag handlers are a milestone for any JSF developer. But what is a tag handler? So let's point out the main headlines of a tag handler. First, we have to know that a tag handler is a type-safe and handy approach of linking a tag name with some functionality. Let's say that you have created a custom tag and you have placed it somewhere in your XHTML page. When JSF builds the component tree, it will scan the page for tags, and at some moment in time, it will meet our tag. This is the time when a tag handler is executed. Of course, if there is a tag handler associated to our tag. So, a tag handler is just an optional snippet of code executed when JSF meets a built-in or custom tag in the XHTML page. When JSF hits this tag, it will execute the associated code. This is happening during the creation or restoration of the component tree, which provides a great opportunity to pinch the component tree just before it becomes entirely available. But tag handlers are good for implementing validation stuff as well, being a good place to prepare or modify the process validations phase. Don't confuse a tag handler with a component tag handler. The tag handlers are known as build time only tags and doesn't have components, while the component tag handlers are render time tags that have corresponding components. But both of them are build time artifacts. So tag handlers provides some advantages such as early control over faces and easy access to attributes and to its parent. Basically, a tag handler is capable to access and modify the JSF component tree that is currently built. But you have to keep in mind that when a tag handler is executed, the component tree is partially built or restored, which means that some components exist while others doesn't exist yet. So the tag handler can manipulate the JSF component tree safely, but you have to pay attention on how you manipulate it. So let's try to identify 4 main scenarios when we need to write a custom tag handler. In the most common scenario, we need to pinch some components from the component tree. Further, we can extend this scenario to certain cases where we need to add or remove components. Other scenarios may include the need to write our own JSTL-like tags or functions and implementing validation stuff. Before writing a custom tag handler, or in order to understand the tag handler, it is important to know several aspects about the tag handler's API. First, we have to know that a tag handler extends the tag handler class. Also, it is important to not confuse a tag handler with a component handler. A custom tag handler for a component, converter, validator, or behavior will extend component handler, not tag handler. Tag handlers are useful only when the component tree is built and they don't correspond to a component. Further, the constructor of the tag handler subclass receives a tag config. Among other things, this configuration contains the tag object generated by the tag decorator. So the tag handler contains a reference to the tag instance corresponding to this tag handler instance. In addition, it provides a shortcut for the tag config getTagId method. The tag attributes are available via the getAttribute and the getRequiredAttribute methods. The getRequiredAttribute method invoke the getAttribute method and check if the return result is null or not. If it is null, then it simply throws a tag exception. Otherwise, it returns the attribute, which is an instance of tag attribute. This represents an XML attribute on an XML element in a facelet file. Finally, you have to know that JSF signals the fact that it has identified your tag by calling the tag handler apply method. Basically, this is the playground of a tag handler. Here, you will have access to the facelet context and to the parent component of this tag, so to the available component tree. In order to write a tag handler tab, there are several simple steps to follow, and the first one consists in writing a class that extends the tag handler class. Second, we need a constructor with a tag config argument and use this argument to call the superconstructor. Third, we need to override the apply method. Here, we place the code for pinching the component tree. Finally, we attach the tag handler to the tag name in a taglib.xml file, and we register the taglib.xml file in web.xml via the context parameter javax faces facelets libraries. Okay, now, based on the previous steps, we can write a tag handler tab as follows. This code is pretty simple. First, we extend the tag handler class, and afterwards we write the proper constructor and we override the apply method. After the tag handler class is ready, we need to configure it in a taglib file. Here, we specify at least a namespace and the corresponding tag. Okay, let's have a few more details on the source code and let's run the application. So, here it is, our tag handler. At this point, all it does is to log this message. As I said earlier, the tag handler must be configured in a taglib file. In this case, the taglib file is named dummy-taglib.xml and it is located in the webinf folder. There is one more configuration needed. We have to instruct JSF where to find the taglib file, and for this we add an entry in the web.xml file via the facelets library's context parameter. Okay, finally, in order to trigger the tag handler execution, we need to use the dummy tag in a JSF page, as you can see here. Now, let's run the code. So, the application is running. Let's check out the output. And here it is, the tag handler effect. Well, in this tab, we just wired up everything in a functional application. Now, let's have more examples. Okay, now, let's suppose that we need the following functionality. We provide a piece of text, the number of times it should be displayed, and the possibility to be displayed in uppercase. We may think of a tag as this one here. We don't need a custom component for this, because we can simply do it via a tag handler as below. First, we write the part that deals with the tag attributes. Each attribute is obtained via the getRequiredAttribute method, and it is stored in a variable of type tagAttribute. This class represents a name-value pair attribute, and it provides helper methods such as getValue, getNamespace, setTag, and so on and forth. In the second part of the example, we override the apply method. Here, we are using the three attributes to accomplish the desired behavior. Basically, we create an UI output and we set its value based on our tag attributes. Okay, let's see it in more detail. So, this is the tag handler implementation exactly as you just saw it. And here we have the JSF page that uses this tag to display 10 times in uppercase the text Vamos Rafa. Okay, let's run the code. Well, it looks like we have obtained the desired functionality. There is one more aspect here, but for this, we have to check the corresponding taglib.xml file. As you can see here, beside the tag name and the handler class, we have added 3 attribute tags. For each of these attributes, we have added some information, such as description, attribute name, if it is required or not, and the supported type. Well, it is not mandatory to have these details in a simple example like this one, but it becomes mandatory if we intend to write an entire library of tags that we want to share with others. And IDEs such as NetBeans can use and expose these details to guide the developers. For example, let's delete the repeat attribute. And notice that NetBeans signals an error that informs us that the repeat attribute is required. Now, if we add it again, we can see its description. So, NetBeans was really helpful. Okay, now let's have another example. In this case, we need a tag that is capable to set the style class attribute for the parent component, but only when the parent component is an instance of HTML input text. Since our tag doesn't allow custom attributes, we can start our tag handler in a very simple way. Further, we simply override the apply method and provide our CSS class to the parent input. In order to highlight our tag handler, we will use two inputs, and we will attach our tag only to the second one. Let's run the code. So notice that if we type in both inputs, only the second one has a red text, which is the effect of our tag handler. Now let's have one more example. The below tag handler set a converter and a validator for the parent component, but only when the parent component is an instance of HTML input text. This example is available in the source code bundled to this video course.